The Life Sciences DNA podcast is sponsored by Agilicium Labs, a collaborative space where Agilicium works with its clients to co-develop and incubate POCs, products, and solutions. To learn how Agilicium Labs can use the power of its generative AI for life sciences analytics, visit them at labs.agilicium.com. Sri, you're in India and doing a couple of episodes from there. Before we talk about today's episode, perhaps you can start with a little perspective for our audience. Where does India sit in the context of the convergence of the life sciences with AI?
Danny, it's been really exciting. India is really burgeoning here in both AI and healthcare. I'm really excited as I go city by city. I've been seeing quite a lot of applications of AI in healthcare. There's lots of startups, lots of people who are actually implementing AI. And so it's really a great time. And it's wonderful to see that kind of enthusiasm here.
So you'll be interviewing Vijayalakshmi Ramshankar. For audience members not familiar with her, who is she?
Danny, today I have Vijayalakshmi, Professor of Cancer Biology and Molecular Diagnostics at the Cancer Center. She's a doctorate in molecular oncology and has completed a postdoctoral from several places, including the Cancer Institute, as well as Indian Institute of Science and Columbia University. She has over 25 years of experience in molecular oncology. Her primary focus has been in tobacco-related cancers like oral, lung, and human papillomavirus. And her objective is to translate oncology research to patients from a bedside perspective to both help them from a prognostic as well as a predictive biomarkers perspective.
And what is the Cancer Institute?
The Cancer Institute was actually established in 1954 as a nonprofit organization. It's a regional center for cancer research and treatment and recognized as the state's Cancer Institute. It's a pioneer in cancer care and offers state-of-the-art treatment for several cancers.
And what are you hoping to hear from today's interview?
I'm really excited because Vijayalakshmi is in the nexus between AI, molecular diagnostics, and clinical care. So it's going to be a very exciting conversation on how you can use AI to solve for what we call current world problems, but also future diagnostic problems.
Before we begin, I want to remind our listeners that if they want to keep up with the latest episodes of Life Sciences DNA, they should hit the subscribe button. If you're enjoying the show or want to suggest topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes, post a comment below. And if you'd like to enjoy the show on the go, you can find it on most major podcast platforms. With that, let's welcome Vijayalakshmi to the show.
It's so great to have you here today. What I wanted to explore today is really the nexus between what you're doing with cancer research, with the new tools coming up with AI, and how that can be applied to a marketplace like India.
So most of the cancer research programs that we have undertaken in the department is pertaining to the most common cancers that we find in India. Like, for example, breast cancer, which is about 1/4 of all the female cancers, is breast cancer in this country. Cervical cancer, which is we have the highest global incidence of cervical cancer. And oral cancer is again due to the extensive tobacco use in this country. We have a lot of oral cancer. We are actually the oral cancer capital of the world.
Wow.
Yes. And then because of a lot of environmental pollutions that is there across, we have a lot of lung cancer these days. The lung cancer incidence is really increasing, and colorectal cancer. So these are some of the common cancers which are there in the country. And the department research is currently catered towards these cancers. Except the colorectal cancer, we are doing research in the other the cancers that I mentioned. Along with that, we are also working on leukemias, which are, very rampant childhood cancer, which is there in this country. So this is the research interest of the department.
Wow, that's quite a wide variety of cancer research to be done. So how do you start, in your molecular diagnostics? Is it post a diagnosis, or are there measures to be more preventive in
Okay.
nature?
It is both. So when it comes to molecular diagnostics, when it is offered to the cancer patients, it is after the diagnosis is made. After a cancer diagnosis is made, for us to decide what kind of treatment should be offered to these patients. We are living in an era of personalized medicine these days. So all the therapies are targeted therapies. So to understand what is a kind of the tumor profile, that is where the molecular diagnostics comes in handy. So we give tests which are there in the NCCN guidelines. So based on that, we have these diagnostic tests, and the kind of test kits that we use, they have to be approved for diagnostics. They have to be US FDA approved in certain cases. So these are the, and there are standard SOPs that one needs to follow. And then also the accreditation of the laboratory. So we have to use everything which is very standard. So the lab that is offering this test should also be NABL accredited. So ours is an NABL accredited laboratory. So there are a lot of quality checks that have to happen when we are offering molecular diagnostics. And these are the tests that, the standard tests we are offering for different kind of cancers.
What kind of volumes are you talking about as you start to do this stuff?
Yeah, so volumes have been pretty high because we are a high volume center. Let me give you an example. For lung cancer, we look for mutations in the EGFR gene. Like if a patient is having a mutation in this gene, then they respond to this drug called geftinib. So therefore, before this drug is administered to the patient, it is important to test for this mutation. So this mutation is being tested in the laboratory. Earlier, we were doing with the qPCR based, which is the same test that was being offered for the COVID. Everybody is aware of qPCR. It was exactly the same test we were offering because that was only affordable for our patients because ours is a charitable hospital. But now we have evolved into giving next generation sequencing where we are doing multiplexed sequencing of different panels of genes. And based on the mutations that are occurring in these genes from the patient's tumor sample, the treatment is tailored. So this is the kind of evolution that has happened.
As you are doing next generation sequencing and all of that, you must be collecting so much data.
Yes.
And now you're becoming a very data-rich environment.
Yes.
How do you go about managing all of that?
It's going to be very, very challenging because now it's not the simple data sets that we were used to in during my PhD days. Now we are all into the era of big data. So when you have a lot of data to be analyzed, then we need high computing power to do that. And that is where I think the role of artificial intelligence is helping us in a big way. So there is a ICMR funded project that I'm working on in leukemias where we are using AI to develop a model which can predict relapse in patients. So this is something we are doing it in 2 phases. So in the phase 1, we just take data from the health records, which is there along with the lifestyle parameters that is also captured in the record. So all that is taken and then we apply the AI based algorithms to predict a recurrence, whether the patient will undergo relapse. If so, we also generate a score. So this is something we are doing based on the EHR. In the phase 2, we will also add the genetic factors that we will derive. For example, what fusions are there in these patients? What mutations are there in these patients? And how that is going to impact prognosis. So that information will also get into the AI model to help us predict relapse in an accurate way. So this is going to be developed in the form of an app. So you will have an app where a clinician, once he enters all the data, patient-related data onto the app, then it gives a recurrence score. Then you know that the patient's, outcome may be poor. That case, the treatment can also be tailored differently. So this is how we are, using AI. Just one small example of how AI is being used.
Wonderful, because most people say that, when you do AI separately to make decisions and then don't bring it within the workflow, then AI is not well utilized. I think you bridged the gap between discovery of the recurrence score and then to bring that in the clinical workflow to make it happen.
Yes.
Why don't you talk us through that journey? It must not have been easy to bring in a EMR or building this AI model. Tell me, how did you do it all in-house? Did you have to do other expertise you had to get from other people? Walk us through the journey. What was the state before where you had only EMR records and no AI? How did you go about starting it? And then how did you get the clinicians to adopt it? Because that's going to be quite a challenge.
I think I was kind of a bridge between the clinicians and the AI experts. So this is something that we have to do with very high level of expertise. Luckily, we have the IIT Madras, helping us, the Robert Bosch AI Center of IIT Madras. We're collaborating with them. So they have helped us to, write the algorithms, improve on the ML models. So the project has, a data engineer, ML engineer who's a part of this project, who's the workhorse, who understands. So they are not from the medical background. So my job is to educate them, teach them what the whole thing is about. And then when it comes to adapting the clinician, the more user-friendly it is, the more it is going to aid in their daily practice. Clinicians these days are very open to, AI, using AI in their daily practice. So therefore, it is just that the best of the minds come together, and my job has been just to bridge these people. Clinicians are best minds, and then you have the AI, the best mind. My job is as a principal investigator, I'm just integrating everything together and then trying to see whether it can make an impact in the real world.
Wonderful. And is the AI being used as a primary endpoint collection tool or a diagnostic tool so that you have to get validation?
This is a kind of an application that we have made, and the models are getting trained with more and more data. The data is from the EMR. And then in the phase 1, we have trained it with, there is a trial which is going on in this country, which is funded by called as ICYCLE trial, which is funded by the ICMR. So we took the pre-trial data of this particular trial, which is integrating the treatment, uniform treatment across the country for leukemia, for pediatric cancers, pediatric acute lymphoblastic leukemia. So the treatment is going to be the same, because when you are going to be predicting the recurrence or relapse, the treatment has to be uniform.
Sure.
So this trial makes sure that the treatment is uniform. And then the pre-trial data was taken into the consideration for developing the model. And now we are working on the trial data, which has got more number of data sets to kind of sharpen this model more and more. And then we will add the genetic component also into it. And then we will make it a complete solution where across the country, whoever is treating pediatric ALL can use this application to derive a relapse prediction.
Wonderful. And you said standardization of the platform is very important. Is there a standard EMR across India, or it's very...
There is, because the ICMR has given standard proforma. There are standard formats available, and we kind of catalog the patient's data as per that particular format. So there we capture everything. So that proforma is used to translate. It's got translated into the application.
Fantastic. And now that in your phase 2, you're going to be bringing in more genetic related coding. So that's lab data.
Yes,
and
the lab data the diagnostic information will also get added. The phase 1 model also has got very preliminary information, but in the phase 2, we will add very intricate information pertaining to what fusions, what mutations that we are deriving out of the patient. And we are going to see, and these are all standard studies which have shown that if these mutations are there, it may be a standard risk or it may come under the high risk. These things are already there. So we are just trying to derive what is known, and then we are integrating that into the model so that the model is able to predict the relapse.
No, it's fantastic, because as you could see out in the marketplace, people are using more genomics, proteinomics, and other omics related data sets. Is that your vision, to create a multiple omics infrastructure?
Yes, I think that is the way to go forward. And now after this Genome India project, which was launched in January 2020, this objective here, the objective was to create a reference genome for India. And that's what has happened. Now, slowly, this is going to get into cardiovascular, mental illness. So we are going to have genetic information for different diseases derived. Similarly, we are also deriving the same thing for cancer. So here there are several databases which are being, which are coming up. There is this Indian Cancer Genomic Atlas, where people have sequenced the breast cancers which are there in our country, and that data has got deposited. So we want to do this for every cancer which is there, so that we will have India-specific, databases. When we are into research, we look at the Cancer Genomic Atlas, TCGA databases, to understand if we are deriving a gene, we want to understand the implication in outcome, survival. Immediately we refer to the TCGA data set. But those have been derived from the Caucasian population.
Sure.
We need something which is India specific. So all the researchers of the country who are working in cancer now are getting together to work towards this collective effort of having, deriving cancer specific database for Indian researchers.
Wonderful. And is this database being shared across the globe, or not globe, but across India?
Yes, that is the whole idea, because wherever the data is there, then if you are a researcher, you have to have a certain credential to use the data. And there is a committee which decides on the data access. So if the researcher or the clinician who wants to make use of this data can, justify the reasons why they want to have that access, then the data access committee gives them that access and they can access all information from the portal, which will help them to understand everything comprehensively.
Tell me a little bit about the state of patient privacy and patient consent in this marketplace. How is that evolving? Because that's a very critical part of having access to the data, which then can be used by AI to learn. And then, of course, you can then use that for,
Yeah, this is very important and very pertinent question. As and when we have more number of data, then the data security is a major concern. Then it's going to be sensitive patient information. So therefore, a lot of ethical, consents have to be in place. Ethical committees, approvals have to be in place. But majority of the data that goes into the databases are all encrypted. So you have different ways of encrypting this data set. So it is not the patient's identity is not revealed. It is only the relevant genetic information which gets cataloged into the database. So those checks are in place.
Wonderful. And you've talked about the big data nature of it. Just how many patient records would be around in this data set? How much of volume or size are we dealing with here?
I think, so as of now, only for breast, they have been able to do about 50 to 100 patient data sets has gone into this database. But in the Genome India project, they have been able to have a considerable number of data sets there. That's the whole idea, because we want to bring together all the researchers who are working on, different cancers. For example, you may have somebody working on lung cancer from some Tata Memorial Hospital, somebody working on lung cancer from AIMS. So all these lung cancer researchers are going to come together and going to, help with this initiative. So whatever sequencing they are going to be doing, it will be a uniform protocol that we will use for sequencing across all the centers. Whatever data we derive, and that will get into this database. So it's going to be a collective effort. So this way, as of now, we don't think we have built big numbers in these databases, but we are in the process of doing so.
Wonderful. You said you were the bridge between the AI folks and the clinical folks. Walk me through what kind of challenges did you have to make the translation? Did the machine learning person need much more understanding of the domain? What kind of issues did they face and how did you bridge it?
I think the machine learning person learning the medical aspects was very challenging, because they have absolutely less knowledge about the actual clinical scenario. The actual clinical scenario one can understand only when they work in a clinical environment. So therefore that was challenging. But thanks to the lot of information which is available and tools like ChatGPT, which is able to give you very pertinent information, that has helped them in building their knowledge base pertaining to the medical issues. So once they are able to understand the problem in a logical way, then they are also able to find solutions in that manner. So that was challenging, but we were able to overcome that challenge. From the clinical perspective, from the clinician's point of view, unless something is evidence-based, then it's very hard to convince a clinician. Everything has to be evidence-based. And so therefore, we had to create evidences. We actually had to, the model had to work in such a way that it is predicting things that they already know with confidence. Then they start believing things which the AI predicts, which the clinicians do not know. So first you have to give them information that they already know, which is coming up beautifully through the model. Then they start trusting the system. So we looked at the features which are known to be giving bad prognosis. Those were coming up in the model. So that gave them the confidence to work on this more. And their inputs have been very, very critical in sharpening this model, because they exactly know what the clinical mind will expect. They are going to be the end users. So a clinician there has helped us to decide and design the whole thing in a way that it is acceptable to every other clinician, because they need objective information.
Of course.
That is provided.
And so you're giving them reinforced learning,
Yes.
and giving feedback back to the model.
Yes.
And it's the human and AI working
together. Yes.
And as you start to build these large data sets, the model is going to be evolving. Is that part of the design?
Yes, I think the more and more data sets which are going to be given into the model, it's going to be robust. So in this leukemia project, we are trying to do that. But this is not the only thing. There are several other areas where AI will be extremely helpful. For example, in imaging. In areas where we are, let me give you one more example. In a molecular prevention initiative, we do this human papilloma virus screening in the asymptomatic community women. So they are all asymptomatic normal people, and we are going to derive data whether they are going to be infected with this papilloma virus there or not. So the positivity of the virus is about 6.3% in Tamil Nadu population. Now, these 6.3 women need to be monitored. That is, they are the ones where, the virus is there, but not that every woman who's harboring the virus will invariably develop cervical cancer. But we need to understand whether they are high-risk HPV infected. If so, what is their, cytologically, what is the abnormality they have. So from the same sample, we do a pap staining, and then it is kind of examined by a pathologist. Now, when we are doing it in a community, with so many samples, it is humanly not possible for one pathologist to screen so many slides. So this is where we are again exploring AI to, look at the slides, take the images, and then, training the algorithm to pick up the abnormality. So this is again developed with the help of a pathologist.
Fantastic. And is this also, you're using the AI?
Yes. No, here, we are working with another commercial company. We are trying to do that. And this is just another example I'm giving you where AI is helping us in our day-to-day operation. Another area is, there is another ICMR funded project where we are working on surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy, developing the spectral patterns from the biological samples.
Wow.
So the patterns that we get between a normal, a pre-cancer and a cancer will have very subtle differences, which is not very visible to the naked eye. So we again use AI there to kind of demarcate which is normal, which is abnormal, So that demarcation has worked very well for us. This kind of spectral patterns can be derived from exfoliated cells, from blood samples, from saliva samples, any body fluid. Each of these will have a particular pattern based upon the biochemical composition of that particular biological sample. So we need to identify the subtle differences, and that AI is very good at doing it because we are training those models. So it will exactly tell you with the spectral pattern whether it is falling under a normal or whether it is abnormal.
These have been very great use cases around using AI for diagnostics, now AI for imaging, AI for spectral analysis. Where do you see AI going in the future?
I think AI is going to have a lot of applications in the field of oncology, right from, multi-omics, where we talked about integrating genomics, proteomics, metabolomics. Everything is going to get integrated and you're going to have a lot of data set. So from this multi-omics data sets, if you have to derive the right kind of biomarkers, then AI will be definitely useful in this area. The second area is imaging. Imaging is, widely applied these days in the field of mammogram. So when you have mammography being done, you cannot have a radiologist sitting and seeing every single, mammography image. So their AI is being widely used. Similarly, it has got application in lung cancer screening. It's a known application in lung cancer screening. So where for every low-dose spiral CT scan image can be AI can be used to pick up early lesions before they are becoming cancerous. So it can be picked up at early stage, because anything which is detected early is curable when it pertains to cancer. And any day, as we all know, prevention is better than cure. And when the cancer is detected early, then you also have the treatment is by a single modality.
Yeah.
So therefore, it also saves cost. So that way, AI is helping in a big way to detect early diseases early, and including cancer. And then AI can also help in remote monitoring, for example, with the help of wearables these days. So you have wearables to and then remotely using telemedicine wearables, it can monitor the health status of an individual. So that way it is helping in maintaining a better lifestyle, a better acting like a health coach. So these are all very useful when it comes to prevention of diseases, including cancer. Have I answered that correctly?
Yeah, fantastic. I think you've given a good spectrum of AI use cases. As you are in this role in cancer, what do you see in the next 12 to 24 months? What do you see going to happen in your job, and how is it going to impact? How is AI going to impact that?
I think every research project that we are undertaking will have an AI component. The way it is going, it's becoming like that. For example, if we are doing, a hereditary cancer project, we want to understand the genetic predisposition of cancer in the community, Indian community. So we are going to be looking at, familial incidents. If you are having cancer in a family, it's running in a family. So we would be, sequencing the patient sample and their immediate relatives, and we are going to be looking at gene mutations and all that. So when it comes to, doing this kind of hereditary testing, when you want to, not everybody will have access to this kind of hereditary testing. So if someone from a remote place also wants to, have this testing, how do we spread this information? How do we spread awareness? That can happen through an application. Similarly, when someone is narrating their family history, then you could have an application which can draw the pedigree chart then and there. So you exactly know. And based on what mutations you are deriving, it can connect with the different databases which are already there to see whether this variant has given rise to a cancer in a particular community before. If so, what percentage? So all this information can be collated in one place. AI is able to help in that, collating information and giving it in a way that it is precise and concise. So there will not be any application which will be without AI in future, the way it is going.
No, that is fantastic. Given with India and given how cost is a key consideration, how do you see this whole thing about data collection, AI models, the cost of it? Can you tell, is it reasonable? Are there innovative ways in which to reduce that? How do you democratize it for a nation like India?
I think India is very good when it comes to its strengths in IT sector. So I think most of the applications that we are doing, we have the right kind of expertise to do it. And with such a lot of human capital, I don't think it's an expensive proposition for a country like ours, because we have the best minds and best kind of skill sets to do these kind of activities. So I think we are in the best era where when it comes to digital applications, we are evolving. When it comes to molecular and deriving genetic information, we are evolving. And people like us are trying to collate things, and everything that we are doing is interdisciplinary. It is not pertaining to just one field. We are collaborating and working. So like in my team, I have an ML engineer, I have an AI expert, a clinician, a molecular biologist. So we are all working together. So I think this is the best era, and I don't think when everybody is going to work together in this way, cost will be a major hindrance. We can still do it in a cost-effective way. Indian minds are tuned to the kind of problems we face. I think those problems are helping us to find unique solutions as well, which we call as the Indian Jugaad. We are very good at that. So I think that way our problems have helped us to come up with the innovative solutions. And that way I think we will be able to do it in a cost-effective way, because cost is, as you said, is a concern.
No, it's fantastic. Given India is about 18% of the world's population, and you're collecting all these samples, do you think we would have progress towards diversity, making sure that we have a good representation? We are a wide, rich country with wide differences? Are we able to bring all of that into the data sets to make?
Yes, I think we should be able to, in course of time, we have just started, in course of time, we will have all this diversity captured as data. And that data is going to be helpful not only for India, but for the whole world. Pertaining to, cancer, if they want to have this diverse information, I think India will be in a place to give that diverse information to the clinicians and to the researchers across the world. And that will help us to come up with innovative treatments, innovative drugs. So we will be there to provide that information.
This has been really inspiring. I want you to leave us with some key thoughts and takeaway, because you've been in the forefront of bringing AI to a very wonderful area like cancer, and being able to make an impact both on prevention and diagnostics. What would be the key takeaways when somebody is embarking on this journey?
When it comes to AI, you're going to have a wealth of information. So we have to always understand that it is augmented intelligence and not artificial intelligence. So therefore, the human mind to decipher and use the right information for the right problem has to be there. We cannot be blindly accepting the AI models, because the AI model functions based on what data we are feeding into that. So we have to be sure of what we are feeding in to understand what we are getting. So therefore, the human intelligence is definitely the one which is driving AI. So that should not be forgotten. We should not be completely driven by the AI base. So the human mind, especially when we are dealing with human samples, the human intelligence will be more important, will have more primary role in getting and deciphering this information to derive useful information which can be translated to the patient.
Thank you again. This was a wonderful conversation. Really appreciate you taking the time to come here. And it was wonderful to see the practical use cases of AI. And definitely India and what you're doing is in some of the forefront of applying AI. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and it's great, wonderful chatting with you.
Well, Sri, that was a terrific conversation. What did you think?
That was amazing. What I really liked about the conversation was it was very use case driven. She had gone and talked to us about molecular diagnostics and the apply of AI towards that, which was fantastic. But also we expanded on the use cases on imaging as well as spectral analysis. So it was really a good testament on the state of art of what you can do in cancer research and how you can apply AI towards that.
One of the things she talked about was using molecular profiling after a diagnosis to match the right drug to the right patient. What role can AI play in that?
As she had conveyed, I think AI can play a very big role in patient matching. As you can imagine, with large data sets, they can create proactive trends and patterns. We can then use that pattern for really diagnosing care much better. As she said, if you could early diagnose a lot of these cancer treatments, then you can actually help solve them from a cost-effective standpoint, but also help patient burden or reduce patient burden quite a bit.
You also asked about all of the data they're generating and how they're leveraging that. One way they're doing that is to review electronic health records to predict relapses. These are relatively small data sets now, but likely to scale very quickly. How big a challenge is not only managing all of that data, but getting the most out of it?
Yeah, I think it's a journey. As she said, we're in the beginning part of the journey. But what I really liked about the conversation was a strong collaboration infrastructure which exists. And therefore, I think the data is going to multiply through the network effect of these collaborations. That's one. The number two, she talked about not just EMR data, but bringing in diagnostic data, lab data, and others. And that's going to really help scale the infrastructure in terms of both diversity of data, but also the data volumes. And that's both going to be really good to then build better and predictable AI models.
You also asked about adoption. Are there different challenges in getting doctors to adopt this kind of new technology in India than the United States? Do you think they're the same challenges?
I think doctors always want to make sure that they're sure of what use of technology, how they use technology. So it's always got to be very similar. You have to win their trust and confidence, and you have to win that by providing them effective and trustworthy data or trustworthy answers. And so I think that challenge is going to be there. But more you start to provide them trustworthy answers, the better it is going to be from an adoption standpoint.
Well, it was a great conversation. I'm glad I was able to tune in. So until next time.
Thank you, Danny. Take care.
Thanks again to our sponsor, Agilisium Labs. Life Sciences DNA is a bi-monthly podcast produced by the Levine Media Group with production support from Fullview Media. Be sure to follow us on your preferred podcast platform. Music for this podcast is provided courtesy of the Jonah Levine Collective. We'd love to hear from you. Pop us a note at danny@levinemediagroup.com. For Life Sciences DNA, I'm Daniel Levine. Thanks for joining us.